for all.
Thank you. We'll start with the approval of the minutes.
I would just
Any corrections?
I would just add that I think in the vote it should reflect that it was the 4 people included the council liaison in the vote.
That would be what?
That it be included who voted in the majority.
Of who, you want to say who voted, you're saying?
Yes.
Have we done that at any time before?
Well, because the liaison voted in the midst of controversy, so I think it should at least be recorded
Well,
that the
I
liaison.
wouldn't say in the midst of controversy.
Well, it's not, it's a fact
Excuse me,
that
I
you
thought-
voted, so I'm
Excuse me.
asking that the record
order.
reflect it.
Point of order.
It's not a lie, it is the truth.
Point of order, I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with it. Okay?
I would move to accept the minutes.
As corrected?
Sure, we can have that.
I'll second as
that
corrected.
second.
It's been moved and seconded, but we accept the minutes of the 25th meeting with the correction. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Okay, reflection, please. One abstention, one no. At this point in time, we have time for the citizens' comments. I want to remind anyone who's commenting, these are items that are not on the agenda. And would you please come up to the podium, state your name and address before you start your comment. Are there any comments at this time? Seeing none, we'll move on to the Carroll County planner, Arco.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi, Arco.
Two items I'd like to bring up tonight. Our county is in the process of the rezoning process, and we have 2 public outreach meetings coming up, one on the 26th in our Reagan room down at room 003, and another on March 27th down by the South Carroll Senior Center. This does not affect the actual towns itself. It's just to let everybody know that we're working on updating our zoning text and looking into rezoning some of the properties in the county side of Carroll. The other thing I'd like to bring up tonight is the annual report that I'm responsible for each year. Might look familiar to you. About a week ago, I sent out some pages that pertain to information that of planning and development related activities coming from the town of Mount Airy. And you might see a little bit of an overlap because I'm collecting the same data from the other towns as well. And this is required from the state that we put together basically an inventory of planning and development activities that took place within the calendar year period. And I did bring an example of last year's report. I'll pass that around.
Arco, what's the frequency of this? It seemed like it's maybe every 5 years or so, or is it annual?
It's annual.
Okay.
So we put this report together each year, but there's also an additional item that's required in between each town's 10-year comprehensive plan update. So each town and our county as well, whenever we develop a comprehensive master plan, we need to update it every 10 years. But with the annual report, there is a mid-cycle review asking a few questions of the status of the comprehensive plan and what changes they might think about in the future. when they reach closer to the update after the 10-year period, so. And I came here today to hopefully, there's also this approval letter that I sent out, and it's a way to keep the towns covered that they have completed their section of the annual report. And I'm hoping to get that letter approved today so I could move forward with bringing this over to the other towns and bring it up to our planning commission as well, so I could meet the June deadline. And I also brought a draft of the 2018 report as well, so I can pass that around as well. And the information will be similar.
So that's the letter that we have in our packet, right, John?
Yes.
Okay, so everybody's read the letter?
Yes.
Do I hear a motion that we
Sure.
accept the letter and sign it and send in, for the county?
Do you want a motion?
Sure.
Okay. Yes, I will motion that we accept the March 25th, 2019 letter to Dave Dahlstrom, signed by Roxanne.
I'll second it.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes, so I'll have that, I'll sign it tonight. You can take it with you.
Thank you.
Is
Those are all
that
the
okay?
items I have tonight.
Can I
Okay.
ask a quick question? You talked about the public hearings that for rezoning of certain properties, there are no properties in the Mount Airy area that are being rezoned, is that?
We're not focusing on the actual municipalities, we're just working on the county portion of the rezoning process. So right now,
Okay.
we're just focusing on the commercial and industrial aspects of the zoning process. And after we get that, after we move forward with that, we're gonna start focusing on the residential aspect of the zoning text.
Will any of that review process affect the Harrison LaShire property?
No, I don't think so.
Just checking. Thanks.
Arco, we would request of you, because we're very interested in regional development and how it may affect the town, okay?
Yeah.
And we've made this appeal before out to our liaisons with both Carroll and Frederick, is if possible, if you know that there's any kind of rezoning changes or anything that might affect and be in proximity to Mount Airy, that you share that with us as early as possible,
Of course,
okay?
yes.
All right.
Okay, thank you, Marco. Next on the agenda is Frederick County Planner. We haven't seen him in a while. Have you been in contact with him at all?
I can reach out to him.
Yes, please.
Until next month.
He's so busy.
Well, I should send somebody.
No, I know, I'm kidding.
Next on the agenda is the development project, Lot A, Twin Arch Business Park. It's S-15-0024. Ultimate Electrical, the final site plan. This has been given final approval from the plan reviewer for the town of Mount Airy and all the county agencies. The planning staff is requesting planning commission approval. Do you want to go over the staff report first, John, please?
Sure. So this property is interesting. Initially, you saw this as a concept plan under M&M Welding. Then M&M Welding moved into Lot 6 and then did an amended site plan to 6 and making 6A, increasing their outside storage area. So this plan actually initially was brought to you under the M&M name, and that's hence why the S-15-0024 number is there. So moving on, so Alton Electric is looking to develop that parcel in very similar fashions to the original M&M Welding. We're looking at a 3.82 acre site, they're looking at putting in a, excuse me, I think it's a, it's electrical supply yard with an outside storage area. I'm trying to find the gross square footage again. So we're looking at,
Building footprint's 15,000 square feet.
thank you. Right, so the whole parcel did go through an extensive review through the county, meeting all stormwater management regulations. I received the final approval letter from them today. That was one of the conditions of approval. That was the only comment letter that was remaining. There were some final calculations that were required from the engineer, who is on site here tonight, if you have any additional questions for him. So the footprint itself is actually a little smaller than the original M&M welding, and there was also actually at M&M welding, they had an additional exterior storage building that's no longer being implemented. So their stormwater management overall impact is less. So that'll be good for our neighboring ponds, et cetera. One of the requirements they were asking was to do an LED, and that was one of the big concerns I had, is that they were asking for, instead of our normal high-pressure sodium lights that we initially recommend or require, they're looking to put in an LED light. It'll still have the 3000 K illumination, so it'll be a warmer color, similar to a high-pressure sodium, but a reduced electrical desire and needs. I mean, it makes sense. But I think the big thing is making sure that it meets the 3000 K illumination.
In terms of footprint, in terms of impact, do you see a significant difference in this proposed reusage of the site versus M&M welding?
Well, and M&M welding never got built there. So ultimately, I don't see it being a huge additional impact to traffic or the access to Backacre Circle or to Twin Arch Road. I'm not sure their normal, the owners here as well, I'm not sure their normal operation hours and how many trucks they have coming and going. But it will support, the whole business park was to support industrial. It's in the proper location, the proper zoning.
Anybody have any questions? Do you want to make any comments?
Sure.
Hi, Ron.
Ron Thompson, Vanmar Associates. Here with me tonight is Harry Holmes, the owner of Ultimate Electric and the owner of the lot, the developer of it. In terms of answering a couple of questions, we did take this plan all the way through final site plan approval with the Planning Commission with M&M Welding. However, they did not choose to complete it with the signature of the Mylars. And at that time, that plan included the lot that you see here today, plus what was Doug Foles' house, which is now Cedar Brook landscaping. So in essence, the footprint of the entire facility, the lot, and all the impervious area has shrunk for Mr. Holmes' proposed development there on it. So we're consistent with, as John noted, with the industrial, and look forward to an approval and answer any questions that you may have on it.
Does anybody have any questions?
This one, I promise you, he'll be in here trying to sign tomorrow, if he can. Anxious to start
Seeing none, is
construction.
there, anyone have any motions?
Yeah,
Read the motion.
I'll make one. I'll move that, and we basically recommend the staff recommendation, that we conditionally approve the final site plan for Lot 12A, Twin Arch Business Park, Section 4, for Ultimate Electric Properties LLC, And with these specific conditions, that all the town comments have been addressed, and that Carroll County stormwater management shall be addressed prior to a grading permit being approved and signed off on by the town, and that any and all legal documents, PWA and bonding, be provided prior to grading permit or building permit approved.
Can I just add one more thing? And
You
that's
need to
the
add the
acceptance of
LED
the
lighting.
LED lights.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The-
I'm sorry.
The
Yep.
first,
True, and additionally, that we permit the use of LED lighting as proposed in the final site plan over our normally preferred high-pressure sodium lighting, as allowed by Town Code Section 112-18F3.
I second it.
it's been moved and seconded that we give a recommendation, approval recommendation for this development, the Twin Arch Business Park Section 4, Lot 12A, Ultimate Electric, final site plan, file number S-15-0024. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next is our discussion of the downtown vision plan. We're to give recommendations to forward to the town council. So if we look at our plan.
The big paper comes out.
Yeah, the small plan that it is. I do want to reiterate the professionalism with the way that this was done and all of the people that were involved in design collectors. I think it's a excellent vision plan. I think that they did everything that we had asked of them, and I'm looking forward to having this vision come to fruition, as I think we all are.
I think also there's a shout out that needs to be made to town staff, to the administrator and to the planning team. The RFP for this project was really well crafted. The objectives and the goals that were outlined there were absolutely on target. And to Design Collective's credit, they responded to every single one of them.
Now, it's my understanding too, John, that when we do these recommendations, we need to put in a recommendation as to when we feel that it should be included in the budget, what year it should be included in the budget. Is that correct?
I'm unaware of that. I don't think we can really dictate that.
I don't think that's
Well-
our job.
Well, yeah, but if, Monica said we needed to put it in there. That's well, I'm asking, I think that we need to say when we would like it in
Well,
there.
I guess the thing is that some of the things, as we'll probably see as we begin this discussion, it'll be easy to say, we can't afford that or this or that. And it's like, to me, it's not really up to us whether.
No, it's not up to us to
That's
say they
the
can afford
council.
it, but we would like to have it move forward as quickly as possible so that we can include, we'd like to see it go in
Okay,
here.
not referring to the budget necessarily.
Right, but
For
we-
example, I agree, there's some things that are not in the 0 to 5 that I think should be.
Right.
Regardless of the budget, like, I don't think we should talk about the budget, though. That's all that I.
Well,
That's all that I think.
I'd like to put in there, we'd like to see it in budget 2020, 2021. I think that's
Well-
important.
I'm sure you can give some type of recommendation.
Yes.
But, I mean, and back to Lindy, what you were saying, or Leslie, I'm sorry, is that if there's something in the 5+ term, and, I mean, that doesn't mean it has to be in there. So, I mean, if that's something that you think inside there needs to be modified,
Yeah.
we can either possibly even move it up into the 0 to 5, or we can just, it doesn't matter if it's in 5+, it can still happen within the first
Yeah.
5 years.
How many folks have given feedback to Roxanne in terms of
I didn't
your
really,
priorities?
I didn't really ask,
Okay,
but that's okay.
all right.
So I just think we need to go down through, I think we're all in agreement that the first one, revisions to the existing zoning, I think we need to start there. And that's the first one.
That's easy.
What page are you on?
I'm on the matrix.
Okay.
What page?
The last,
Last,
page
like,
88.
last three
I'm
pages.
sorry.
Okay.
Was there anything else you wanted to address first?
Matrix.
What did you say?
Like I read it, I highlighted it. It was weeks ago, but.
I know.
Well, I don't have a problem doing that because, that would be up to us. But I would think more, you might want to start more conceptually about, what we think is more of a priority perhaps than.
Okay.
Yeah, from
So
a policy standpoint.
yeah, so for example, I strongly believe that we should strongly consider opening up Center Street, in the near term, regardless of whether there's a developer, I think that the town should invest in it, even if it's just an easement purchase. I mean, it doesn't, but. And I can tell you I have a whole lot of reasons, and then Bill can tell you his after mine. I didn't write them down, but so first of all, well, it's been on the plan for decades, but Center Street needs to be fixed anyway. A lot of it, it's just a mess and it's broken, and so rather than just start patching it up, it seems like it would be good to just continue the revitalization stuff. The other thing is, we can't close Park until we open Center. So it's like the stuff where it seems like we're focusing more on stuff going like Park and, the other a little bit further south. I mean, it seems to me it makes a lot more sense to open Center because you have to. And the other thing is that it can encourage people to start coming into town before there's anything there. It's almost like I think of it in terms of what's the best for the residents and what's the best for the businesses that are already here. And if you don't open Center until you're already developing up there, then people might just get stuck there, rather than if it's opened up earlier, then people know it's open up and they're coming through and they're going downtown. It's like, oh, look, and let's see, there were more things. I mean, yeah, and I really think it gives the town leverage. Like rather than waiting for a developer, and if the town does it, then we've already done it. The town has the leverage more than the developer. It's instead of them saying, oh, well, we're going to do this for you, so we want, whatever. And then, at least, maybe not everyone, but a lot of, I know my focus and people that I've talked to tend to really, like the north end of Main Street with the bank building, and we've already got the rails to trails coming through. So the rail yard, the bank building, like that could so revitalize downtown. So I just feel like this stuff it's almost like concentrating on what's already here. And we've got the caboose and then the new little museum visitor center right in the rail yard. And so rather than creating new retail first, it's like, why don't we focus on the businesses that are here and try to revitalize.
And provide more access.
Yeah, and and that's probably not all, but those are the ones that I can remember. So that is, I really think it's very important.
When was the bypass built? Wasn't it late 60s?
I can tell you in just a minute. I was in the 8th grade.
Early 70s, okay. So for the better part of 40 years, we've known that the shortest path between a lot more traffic in our downtown was Center Street.
Yeah.
And it's laid dormant all this time. Doesn't it make sense to provide better access for more people to what we already have downtown in order to help fuel the revitalization and economic development goals we're trying to achieve?
The one thing though about rerouting Park is that if you widen, if you take away that layer of parking that's all diagonal going up Center Street,
Yeah.
I do think that you could reroute through Cross. And I'm not, you know, when I look at it, I wasn't sure that Cross was the actual best road. What's the road after Cross down by?
Veterans Lane. No,
That's not a good one.
I don't think so. I think,
Wasn't there some talk about?
There was-
It's wide, well, I say it's wider, but
one coming
what would
one
have to
way,
happen
one
to
going the
Cross
other way?
Street to widen, like, is it, if you're rerouting down?
well, you'd have to widen it, and on that side, you've got the hill to the park, you've
You have
got
to
the
reduce the
steps.
slopes.
Yeah,
Right.
you got to reduce the slopes. I think Design Collectives felt, in looking at it, that Cross Street was the best.
Well, yeah, with
One.
enhancements, it would
Yeah.
be the better choice instead of through the neighborhood. I just say like right now, when I drive down there, I'm like, I always feel like something's gonna dart out on Cross Street. So I feel like the Veterans Way is.
Because of
Right,
that
yeah,
building.
I can't see. But the widening of Center at the base here, by getting rid of that, those
Right.
5,
Right.
8 parking spots
Yeah.
would make it a lot
Yeah.
safer to,
Right.
to traverse, you know, the terrain.
Right.
But anyway, that was something to think about. I like that idea. The other thing is that, what about concurrent efforts? We look at these, we kind of look at these things as one at a time. But if we were really going to look at doing these things, and it's not that they would be bank breakers doing them all at once, I'm just saying that, you talk about, we talk about, Center Street and, maybe connecting it and, maybe the Flatiron Building can come down at the same time. I mean, it's not gonna, bust the budget. So
I don't know, like.
but you know what I mean? Like,
I don't
it's
know.
just, if we do it one at a time, maybe we're gonna have to look at projects in concurrence.
Well, one of the things that seems to me that this lacks, it's a very compelling presentation and plan, but it lacks, practically speaking, the business case. And I think one of our complementary recommendations is that for any of the major initiatives, there needs to be a business case run along with it. And perhaps that could be an opportunity for a group that has representation from a number of different boards or commissions, be it EDC or be it MAMSA or.
So you mean
or
like
be
a
it
market
Chamber.
analysis or?
Well,
what?
it's not a market
What do you mean?
analysis. It's a
Explain what it-
business analysis.
Yeah, explain what it is. a little
We're
bit.
talking about investment here on the part of the town. It's an
Yeah, okay,
investment
right.
mentality.
Okay, right.
So the question becomes, what's the cost of that investment and what's the
What are you gonna
return
get
on
out of
it?
Yeah, yeah.
And there may be, need to get reach out to some expertise to help quantify what the return could be. But obviously, and we all think there is, I think, a return on the investment of putting Center Street through sooner rather than later.
Right.
Okay, so could we quantify that?
Right.
Secondly, if there is additional expenditure or requirement for additional infrastructure by the town to put Center Street through or any of these other items, we need to be sure that's captured in the due diligence and the analysis.
Right, right. And after, even if the town pays to put it through, then when it is developed, they can negotiate to get some of that back or
Exactly.
whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
What
Right.
might the leverage consist of
See,
in
I
consideration?
think there's three pillars to this the town's project, the vision plan. So we're ultimately seeking like economic sustainability, right? We're trying to have businesses in conjunction with, social aspects and environmental aspects and, growth. So we're looking at all these things concurrently. So whatever path we take to achieve the goals in this plan, we need to make sure that all aspects of that are considered. You could bust through Center Street and that might help economics, but it might upset people socially. So I know that I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Like, so, not that we don't need to do it and it's long overdue. I'm just saying that that's what we're weighing here. So when you were talking about like progressing through a business plan, I think it is missing. I don't know, is that something that we should have asked them to help us with, or is that something that we should know how to do? Because you're right, there's a plan here and there's great ideas, but where do we find guidance in piecing this together? And I feel like, I agree with you, it's kind of a no-brainer that Center Street is like the crux of this whole, and I feel like it's the linchpin
Yeah.
of everything. I don't know if there's a more important mention of anything in this plan other than you have to put Center Street through.
In the back building.
Well, yeah, I mean,
That's me.
it
That's
will,
me.
that will happen, I think, you put Center Street
I
through.
know, well,
You know what I mean? It's
there's
just,
a lot of likely things that can come out of doing
I
that.
think that's our step forward, our biggest step forward, and it shows progress and that we're serious about moving
Exactly.
forward.
It shows that we're willing to do something.
I think at this stage, you're absolutely right. I think part of our accountability and responsibility is to think broadly and to say, besides the recommendations, what other considerations do we think need to be, also looked at? And as part of our recommendations, not only the priorities of maybe sequence, but how deeply to look at it, how broadly and deeply, and are there other factors? That's supposed to be part of our role, right, as planning commission, to consider, to put that out there, to get feedback from stakeholders and residents and so forth, and try to identify that for legislative action.
Go ahead, Judy.
So a couple points of clarification for me is, so we're making the recommendations tonight of what we think about this plan, and kind of some priority. I think your point of where we're going to get the most bang for our buck and how that impact, I think that's important to look at as well. If we make recommendations and say, we think Center Street and then we're going to tear down the Flatiron Building, I do know that there was a lot of community opposition at one point around tearing down that building. Does each step have to go through a public hearing process, or have we announced to the town, we're adopting this plan and this is the order in which we're doing? I mean, I don't know where we are with that whole process.
I think when we give the recommendations to the town and they accept or reject how we have our recommendations until everybody agrees, then there will be a public hearing for one big document for all the implementations and all the steps. Am I correct?
That seems rather grandiose. I mean, I think that's big.
Pat Rockenberg, Mayor, I doubt that the town council will have a plan for every point that was pointed out in the plan at that time. They'll probably take it piece by piece, because some of the implementation, although it will go in conjunction with one another, like first, before you can close that intersection of Park Avenue, you have to open up Center Street. Before you tear down the Flatiron Building and repurpose it, you may want to do something else. So, now I would just look at it, and I think there is an implementation plan spelled out in the plan, although it's probably vague, and I think it just lays it out in years. It would be great to get your input to say what you feel is a priority and to move forward. I know Bill asked a very pointed question. Would it be in the town's best behalf to move forward in pushing Center Street through on its own? And I believe the response at that time was to probably wait for development to push it through.
You missed at the beginning of our conversation here.
I'm sorry, I probably did, okay. Well, then that was addressed, but if you get your, the zoning worked out, maybe that'll help facilitate that. But no, I wouldn't look for the town council to say, this is an approved plan. Remember, it's always going to be a vision.
Right. Okay.
When I thought over, as I looked at these 19 recommendations, which ones, would I prioritize or consider might give the most bang for the buck or might help our downtown the most in the short term, in the first 5 years, my thoughts were, and Flatiron Building wasn't part of it, okay?
Did you say was or was not?
It was not.
Right.
It was not.
Yeah.
My first was to go ahead and make the recommended changes in zoning and policy and so forth, because we've got to have that foundation in terms of the planning commission operationally. Second, it was to go ahead and take the initiative and put Center Street through, because that accesses 25,000 car trips a day and gives them that much better access to what we already have. So it's going to be an immediate infusion of potentially more potential customers and so forth.
Which is nerve-wracking, though, because this road does get busy.
Yep.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I hear
Yep.
the need and the want for more traffic to come through to bring
Yep.
business, down here.
The,
But as somebody who lives on this road, there's a a decent amount of traffic that already comes
Well,
through.
it would take some off of Main Street as a result of allowing them to come in that way, because of the majority of the traffic that's accessing us is north and south on
90,000
that.
cars a day.
The third thing
It's already a
that,
little bit difficult to see when you're pulling out on Center Street
Yep.
onto
Yeah,
Main
they're
Street.
gonna have to
as,
Well,
I would think that there'd be,
light or something.
changes
It'd
done
have to be
to
a light.
Main and Center, you know.
well,
that's
I
part of-
actually
that's part of that.
combined two things. I said, connect Center Street to Maryland 27 and start the coordination process with Maryland SHA to incorporate an intersection and traffic signal at Center and 27. The third thing on my list was, because we've already seen the improvement in the vitality of the rail yard, you know, with the initiatives that are already underway, you know, and with the upgrade of the train station,
Right, because we already have events there. We
was
have the
to
rails, the trails.
further develop that rail yard plaza, you know, per some of their recommendations, and to implement at least some of the early parts of their streetscape improvements,
Yep.
Main Street to cross. My fourth thing is to extend the gas line to the old bank building.
Yeah,
And-
that's
and-
now, that's not,
And
2
to,
years.
well,
Oh,
it
that's
ain't happened yet,
No, it's not.
okay?
We'll
And
work.
the clock is
All right, well,
ticking
that's good.
on some key entrepreneurs,
Yep.
okay, who are desperately need the extra space, okay?
Yes.
So that needs to happen, and if it's a rear easement, there may indeed be the opportunity for improvement for other folks. But along with this, I think the broader due diligence of business case and quantification and making sure that in whatever the priorities are within the next 5 years, say, that first phase, that it also identifies what town infrastructure investment is going to be required as well. So the big picture of it, you know, the investment and the ROI can be considered by town leaders.
Barney, I'm going to ask you a few questions, because they have, and I know it's kind of backwards sometimes in road construction, they have the streetscapes, the Center streetscape, improvements from Main to Cross Street happening, and then we do the connection to 27. And that seems kind of backwards to me, because you're going to put streetscape stuff up, and then you're going to tear it down to make the road better. I mean, you know, it just, but I know that that's the way that they do roads all the time. Why is that?
Not
So-
very cost efficient.
So
It's
there's,
not.
Center Street's, the way I see it, is kind of three parts. One is your improvement here at Main Street. Then you need signalization at 27. Both of those have to happen prior to you connecting the center. Or like Scott mentioned, concurrently. You know, they have to happen, the two ends have to be in place. You're gonna need a light out at 27 once that road goes through. Down here, you're gonna need the extra lane, a dedicated right and dedicated left approaching Main Street. So those are two things that have to happen. If we go ahead and make the improvement now, which I think we're budgeting for, this end of Center Street at Main Street, it doesn't hurt anything to go ahead and put that in.
It's going to happen soon.
And if we haven't developed exactly what that streetscape's gonna look like, or if we just work from design collectives, you know, some things can change, but not the majority of that project. We're not gonna lose a lot by putting that in now.
Roxanne.
Yes, Bob.
And I think, didn't we have a meeting with the fire company where we worked out, it's not only just, you know, a few little improvements. There's major changes that'll happen back there to sight distance and
Yeah, the road is too much of a pitch.
Because-
You wouldn't do your Center Street improvements until you would close them out.
so when you shut down Park, this stuff has to already be in place,
But that's not for Center Street. Center Street goes to Independent.
right? I understand that. So there has to be some kind of method to the madness.
I think there's another priority in the first 5 years, and that was the reference to consolidating and maximizing surface parking, I was surprised, pleasantly surprised to see the amount of available parking we have. And that's part of my thinking, then let's provide more access for more folks if we've got unused capacity. Okay, that would be a shot in the arm without overburdening potentially our current parking capacity. But in the meantime, they made a good point that we've got additional surface parking areas. There could be some partnering, with private ownership. Why don't we try to access and maximize and coordinate all that we have possible before there's a demonstrated need to invest, in parking deck or whatever.
Well, we've already, again, to the bank building, it's got a whole parking lot.
So I don't mean to be a naysayer here, because I'm all about, I think this plan's great, and I really do like the idea of Center Street. The only other thing that I just want to bring up is on 27, now you're talking about adding another light. At any given time, when you try to drive from the Wise light down to the Watersville Road light, it's already backed up all the way. You put another light in there, that whole thing is a parking lot now.
I think a circle would be better. And that's
I
not
think
up-
that
that's
we
not up to
look
us,
at
but
some
a circle.
kind of bridge, a circle, something has got to be different than.
But that's not
that-
ours to decide, right?
No.
I believe that Ron Thompson offered something like that.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
And I don't believe it got included in this.
Well, no, we
But-
asked, we
like
got it to be, because that was at the council.
Council meeting, that one
We got
council
it-
meeting.
We got it to be included
Included.
in the evaluation or whatever
Right.
it's called.
Yeah.
But, we need something, because the trail's also gonna extend there to
That's-
cross.
I thought we talked about this a couple years ago, and
Well, we did.
a bridge overward or under, or.
Right.
Yeah, Barney, go ahead. Barney, can you enlighten us a little bit, please?
So if you remember the corridor study,
Yes.
27 corridor study.
Yes.
It says that there's gonna be a light there or something like that, right? Other things are gonna happen, like there's gonna be 2 lanes going each way, all the way out to North Main Street. So through past Watersville eventually.
Well, and it limits your access to Center Street and to Watkins Park right there. That's the problems that they were trying to work out.
You mean the circle, right?
Yeah,
With
Yeah.
the circle.
Yeah,
Well,
it was kinda
well,
weird.
I guess one of the,
Awkward.
go ahead.
well, one of the, I guess that plan that came up did create issues with that, but they were showing that you can do it a different way.
Right.
But either way, that can still be decided, and that might be, come out with, the Center Street development to see what they're looking at. For us, in the meantime, I think we should be looking at a light going there at 27 in Center Street. It could change in the future, but I think that's something that State Highway would probably be paying for, and, kind of work towards that.
already commit to something and that plan came in late, could have affected the state's commitment.
I don't want to put words in the state's mouth, so I don't know.
But there will be some
Okay.
kind of traffic control device.
Right, but to me, that would come up with a plan. I mean, that was just here, how about this intersection? Well, we need a plan to go along with it to see how that's gonna work. So that's why it didn't really make sense to put that in the plan without seeing what the development's gonna be that supports it.
Leslie?
So, can't you have signals that are, like, they don't actually, they have to be triggered, like,
Yeah.
it's not gonna turn red unless a car is trying to make a left turn out of Center Street, or you have a pedestrian crosswalk, so you don't have like a regular signal that's gonna back up unless somebody is using it,
Right.
needs access. I mean, isn't that possible?
It's
yeah.
not going to slow down
Yeah.
this plan or what we're talking about tonight, but I do think there needs to be additional conversation when it comes time to putting that light or whatever.
Right.
And I see your face about what's probably easier to put the light, just a traffic light there instead of some kind of overpass or something, but I think we just have that discussion in the future,
Right.
Right.
that's all.
And in discussing, because John, we were talking to Cecily about this a little bit at the meeting the other night, and she said that as far as a roundabout on that particular section, it would not be highly recommended. because I don't know why, I'm not the traffic person, I'm just going by what, she had said, but yes, we're just gonna have to, that intersection might change a couple times, before it's all done.
Slow people down a little, that's for sure.
You know, also keep in mind that going back to, because I saw it laid out in the 2003 Town Master Plan, as we see continued development of what I refer to as Mount Airy East, then an extension of Century Boulevard and wrapping it around and tying that in to the same,
We talked about that a while
interchange.
ago, yep.
Okay, see, that would help not only to relieve some of the stress on an intersection that's already at peak up at Twin Arch Park in 27, but also would be a fuller part of an intersection at 27 and Center Street.
Yeah, it'll be right there.
So I think we're all in agreement that probably first and foremost, the first thing that needs to come down through is the gas line.
Well, yeah, hopefully it's the first thing. If it's not, then that's gonna be a lot of disappointment, but yeah, hopefully before anybody even considers what we're talking about, the gas lines getting started.
We've sent letters out to all the property owners. And so we're, in the discussions now about walking and knocking on doors and polling the property owners about, what do they want to do.
Hopefully it'll be off the plan before.
Well, yes, and I just think I want it there as in writing as a priority, because we know that there are for some business owners, this is a make or break issue.
Yeah, well,
And I want,
if they don't get it, they're not
They're-
staying.
Well,
They're
and-
right.
And new ones coming in.
Right.
Like
that's right.
We'll have even more leave.
You won't have any more restaurants, I can tell you that, because that's
Right.
Restaurants thrive. That's what they want, is gas. So then I think we're thinking that Center Street.
Yeah.
The improvements to Center Street and the opening it up to 27. And then probably at the same time we're doing this, we're working on the Cross Street and Park Avenue.
Well, did we leave out the zoning?
No, that's first.
Zoning's got to be up.
Well,
Okay.
we're doing the zoning, so we can be
Right,
doing that.
but I just want
as
to put
we
it
go
in
along,
there,
yeah.
part of record.
Yeah.
So we got zoning first, then gas line, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Then the Center Street and opening it to 27. And then the reroute of Park Avenue to Cross Street. Is that going to happen?
So we were thinking rail yard, bank
rail yard.
building
I
before
like that recommendation.
Rail yard,
Yeah,
fine.
absolutely.
Just focusing on
northern
that
part of
area.
Main Street
Because you're going to be
first.
bringing more people downtown.
Yeah, and you
so.
can't, if you do everything at once, there'll just be too much chaos and everything will be closed off and you won't be able to get anywhere.
So we're going to concentrate on the northern
North Main
end
Street, north
of
end
Main Street.
Yeah.
And then reroute.
And I think, additional surface parking, putting it into use and looking into partner opportunities for private lots. Let's access all we have now.
Yeah, I've mentioned this not recently, but probably for years. It's like if the town, gives something to the bank building, then the bank building can give parking to the town.
So you have those 2 or 3.
Well, isn't that already in negotiation? Isn't the parking at the bank building?
It's part of,
These guys.
the people that are interested in buying the bank building they have real estate people
Well, it could be
working
done
for them
anyway.
right now. And it is part of the discussion, but I think Rob wants to keep that parking lot, is that true? The big parking lot? And maybe the smaller parking lot?
Barney didn't want to go into discussion about the overpass, which is one of the reasons why we didn't do it. I don't want to go into discussion.
Okay.
It is in discussion right now. Nothing's been decided.
Just say,
Many other issues.
it's just say it's in discussion.
So he's let that property sit vacant for decades and has not been fined probably a dime, and now he's going to play,
You got the bank?
Yeah.
Some of that part.
No, we're
I'm talking about the
bank.
parking lot that's
Parking lot
behind
at
the
the
bank.
bank.
I'm not talking about the rail yard.
Light ordinance just passed 2 years ago.
Wait, the what?
And the blight
Oh,
ordinance.
okay.
Before that, we had no. The blight ordinance passed 2 years ago. Before that, we had no teeth. I'd like to thank the town council for passing it.
Thank you for passing it.
And he has been warned that we will be enforcing the
Oh,
blight
good.
ordinance.
Okay.
If things do not happen.
Oh, excellent. Thank you. I'm
That
very
happened about a
happy.
month ago.
You
Okay,
know,
great.
there was stuff that was beyond his control with the broken sewer
For
line
10
and
years,
all
the
that.
property was tied up in a lawsuit with the state.
Oh,
And for
okay.
about 8 years, it's been out of that.
Okay, okay. Thank you for that.
Thanks for the
information.
clarification.
Yes.
Appreciate that.
Interesting.
Yep. Okay, so then,
I'm going to say one last thing. It's not germane to all of this, but the sooner we could get rails to trails extended over onto the Frederick County side, okay, and anything that we can do with 27 and Center Street to bridge over and extend that way too, rails to trails is
Yep.
just a great
Right.
opportunity for us.
I
It's-
agree with
it's
that.
It's another reason to focus on that.
okay,
end.
so
Yeah,
we'll do trail
completely,
enhancements.
yeah.
And someone needs to put an ice cream shop in then down there. That's.
Yep.
There
If
is,
you're biking,
well,
And-
snow,
and-
well,
and with the
Jessica
visitor
Snowball's
center-
down there.
You need some ice cream
You've
though.
got
Yep.
lime,
Ice cream, and you got the visitor,
with
with the visitor center right there, you bike
Yep.
through and you
Yep.
stop and you get information. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
it's
almost,
perfect.
it's almost like Ohio Pile without the river.
Never been there, don't know.
Oh, it's awesome.
Okay, so
Good.
we're looking at the first 5 years. So revisions to the existing zoning, gas line, Center Street Center Street improvements in opening to 27, rail yard improvements. I just put surface parking and trail enhancements.
Yeah, good.
That's an optimistic 5 years.
Well, some of these things
Gotta
need.
start sometime.
It's
Yep.
got to be quantified.
And then,
We've had
are we
plenty to think
looking
about.
possibly at the Flatiron Building?
Yeah, at some point, because there's more to it than that, but because you're talking about the facade being changed. I think it changes I think there's an aesthetic welcoming, when that building comes down, from just their drawings, it doesn't even have to be what they've drafted, but our whole city landscape becomes friendlier, I think. It's
Less boxy.
And more
Yes.
integrated.
Yeah.
yeah, it looks more, I mean, it'll allow passing from the municipal lot down to the street. The businesses that are down there will love that. If that building were to come down and you were able to connect that and make it more people walk friendly. More access friendly, I think it'll be huge for the town.
Yep.
Huge. That's why I had it pretty high up, only because of the social excitement
Benefit.
of being downtown, being able to eat your lunch on the hill there and people watch. I don't know, I mean,
I just
I
think
like
being
that.
able to have a bigger sidewalks, bigger, like they
Right.
do in front of Ileana's, just that
yeah.
kind of outdoor seating and all of that kind of
It's
stuff.
welcoming.
Makes some, yes, yep, yep.
And with part of improving on the north end, do we want to try to see if we can improve the embankment there at the rail yard in Center Street? Because they have that way down on the list. They've got it down in like the 5 to 20
Yeah,
year.
but don't they have the Center Street down there too? I mean, I think that kind of goes with
yeah,
Center Street.
it-
and the
yeah, it
rail
does.
yard.
You would
It
put
does.
in those extra lanes.
Because, I mean, ask Barney, I assume if you're widening Center Street,
Then
you
it-
would.
then
That's
be
when we would
available.
work on the embankment.
Yeah, it
You
could be.
probably-
Well,
I mean, I don't know, whatever they need to do.
you mentioned the
like-
rail yard earlier. I would
Right.
think the embankment would kind of go with the rail.
Oh,
yard.
okay,
The rail
all
yard,
right.
yeah,
Yeah,
so,
because Gallagher and Scranton's property are both, part of that.
yeah.
Okay. Do we want to go any farther than that, or do we just want to?
that's,
I think that's good.
Okay, I think that's awesome.
that's a lot of good stuff.
work.
I think it's good 5 years.
It is good.
Improving the embankment, you have to own the property first, perhaps.
Yes.
Right. I mean,
It's all part of it.
we're just it's all part of that
Part of
package.
it, Pat, pull it together.
It's also a recommendation, Pat,
For the town council meeting.
to get the,
Can you get that new
Yeah.
priority list?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we're not, and, I mean,
we gotta give you something to work on.
yeah. Well, that's one thing, that's, one reason why we are putting these things in, because we feel would like to see them also in the budget in the next 5 years.
We'll do the dreaming,
I think,
We're the
Find
dreamers.
the money.
yeah.
So
doesn't the council pass the budget? Yeah, but
Put it back in if they want.
that's right, they can.
Roxanne?
Yes,
can I-
sir.
Can I just, can I just recap to make sure that I have a good list for Bob so he can take it to the town council? And that is, initially, zoning would be priority one, the bank building, and the rail yard improvements, gas line extension, looking at trying to get the west rails to trails figured out, Center Street, Cross Street.
No, not Cross Street, wait.
Here's what I have. Revisions to the existing zoning, gas line, Center Street, an opening to 27, rail yard improvements, surface parking consolidation and maximization, trail enhancements, Flatiron Building.
That was a reroute though. You forgot the reroute? The reroute. I think the reroute, I had reroute at 5 before,
Yeah, if you do the Flatiron Building.
Okay.
You've got to reroute before that.
Yeah,
Reroute.
Which
and
is
then
Cross
Flatiron.
Street, has to
Yeah,
be in
so-
play before.
Reroute.
So reroute was after rail yard.
That's just at the end.
Reroute
Like
was
Center Street's up.
after rail
Cross
yard
Street's
plaza.
down.
It's ahead of the other one,
You got reroute at number 5?
yeah.
Yeah.
And I'd like to add a sidebar that I think there's a real need to quantify this, to do the business case, i.e. what is the potential investment required? Let's challenge ourselves or challenge the team that works on this to do their best to project the ROI, and let's make sure that all the necessary additional infrastructure investment, required to do it is included. Big picture, reality.
Okay, so all those, I'm just going to say, all those in favor of saying it the way that we have the recommendations, we're going to send this recommendation to the council. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Good,
I think we did our homework.
awesome.
Yeah.
That was great, you guys. I do have a question for the mayor.
I just came to listen.
I know, but I have a question for you.
No.
You were talking about the task force? What's the growth task force?
Growth and development.
Growth and Development Task Force.
I'm still listening.
Okay, what is their purpose?
To produce.
You have to, sorry.
The purpose of energizing the Growth and Development Task Force is to create a new town survey ahead of the new town master plan that will be coming out in a few years. The last survey was performed in 2006. We received, I think, like a 45% response, which is unheard of in survey percentages, and we hope to get that same percentage. And it really gives voice to the community. Before, people felt like they weren't heard, but when you hear 45% respondents, you've heard from the community. And we used that 2006 survey in a lot of our planning decisions and a lot of decisions we made at these commission meetings. So we're very excited to get that underway. Within the next month, I'll probably be meeting.
Okay. So that's done. So the next thing is the Carroll County Annual Report, which we've already done. So we don't have to worry about that.
You need to sign the letter for
Right. I got it right here. I'll sign it at the end.
him. You might need to go.
Do you have to go?
Right answer.
Good answer. So the next thing, John, is just their future items to be put on the agenda, the rules and procedures for our discussion and approval. We're waiting for the edits from the town attorney and the commission members. You have the sign or ordinance workshop, possible dates in April if needed for final review. Would you like to discuss that?
Like I said, as I said earlier, before the meeting, I was thinking the week of the 22nd to the 26th might be an option, depending on availability of the room, to finally go over the final draft of all the changes with everything that's been stricted out, crossed out, and left with just the full document as it will be, with the new values put in red so we can remember exactly what we added here and there. And then after that, hopefully there's not too many modifications to that document, and if so, then we possibly could even adopt it with minor changes on then the 29th, then forwarding it possibly to either the town council, either the beginning of May or June, because again, May being the election, it might not be the best time for that to occur, but I'm not positive.
Wait. For the sign ordinance?
Well, the finalization of that sign ordinance, like saying, trying to create a workshop
Because I
between
thought
now and
that
now.
Tom was going to be done with, for the next meeting, for the April meeting. Didn't you say he didn't want to have to do it for this meeting?
Well,
Right.
we don't have it for this meeting. This
I
is a
know.
future item.
I know, but you're talking about May now. We're talking about voting on it in April, aren't we?
Well,
I'm saying to have a workshop,
Trying
so
to
we
have
can go
it
over
in
it.
hand for a workshop.
And then to give it to the town council in May.
He's gonna have it available April
Yeah,
15th, is what he
yeah.
said.
Okay.
And then the final full week of April, going through it one more time. And then hopefully adopting it then on the 29th of April.
Okay, I'm
To
sorry.
possibly forward to the town council in May.
Sorry.
One thing that might be a hit in that
Go ahead,
is
Tom.
usually that third Monday of the month, the town council uses that for a budget work session.
Okay,
And we have in the last 6 or 7 years anyways. So-
prior to the May election, you're saying?
Because we have to get something done. It has to be passed in May, I believe. And so we're not gonna make it by Monday for the April meeting. And we usually we just work that third Monday
In April.
in April,
That's the 15th.
That's the 15th.
That is the 15th.
correct?
So
I'm saying the 22nd to the 26th,
Okay.
that
Okay.
week.
Because Tom said he wasn't going to have it ready until the 15th.
15th, correct.
Well, I don't know that the actual date is gonna be the 15th for us either, but there's gonna be a work session.
On some Monday, you're saying,
On,
in
yeah,
April.
well, they try to do it on Mondays to deal with parking down.
Sure.
Well, let's plan it and see
Well,
where
I
that,
just
where
want you
that
to be a
meeting
little bit
goes.
flexible.
Because that's a pretty good schedule, but if it gets complicated, then we'll have to just change it, right? Like if it gets complicated with that meeting, then we'll just have to adjust. Because Tom delivering it on the 15th is
That's a week.
That's a good.
That'd be
Right,
date,
you can
fabulous.
forward it
And
to
then
you.
We'll just adjust to anything that comes up with that budget meeting.
I think
Okay.
we'll have Deborah send out a request for a meeting on possibly the 23rd or through the 26th, so Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday,
Yeah, we can.
in one evening, hopefully.
April's going to be as busier than March.
Correct,
And in trying to schedule and coordinate the candidate forum
correct.
for the May 6th election,
Yep.
it's looking like either the 24th or the 26th may need to be the preferred date. It'll either be at the library again, or it'll be at the Wellness Pavilion.
It's all
I'll
I'm
know
saying
this
is
week.
I see what you're saying.
don't lock into that date
Yeah.
because
Well, and again, maybe April is not,
26th.
maybe April's not gonna work out. You
I
know,
know
maybe
that
it's-
Debbie likes to have, we're always right down to the day that we need for her to advertise and, you know, us to set up a public
Sure.
meeting and everything for the
I
budget.
know, it'll probably be the 26th.
Okay, well, we'll be flexible with that, and, I mean, if we look at it and we see that we don't really need any input, we can just do it at the meeting.
It's very
I mean,
possible.
I'm hoping that,
Close.
I mean, I'm sure
we're close, I'm hoping that we'll
what
be
a
able to
concept.
do that. That would be
What
awesome.
a concept.
Just throwing it out there
Well,
so
right.
we all know.
I mean, Tom's gonna turn it into what we asked him to, so.
Right.
Unless we're not happy with what we came up with, then we'll
Well, I
have
would
to.
sure like the opportunity to at least scan it over once before
Yeah.
we.
Well, that's why he's
before we-
giving it to us on the 15th.
Yeah.
Right, as soon as we get that, I'll just have him either email it out to everybody, or have him email it to me or Deborah, or both of us, and then we'll forward it to you guys.
That would be
That
the
works.
best thing. Okay, so the next thing is you have here on the Voslo property, that is postponed by the developer until further notice.
Yeah, so I talked to the attorney and also the developer, and also a representative that used to be a county planner came in and talked with staff the other day about some of the concerns we were having with actual property lines that are discrepancies, in my opinion. So I'm hoping that they'll be giving us some type of a deed mosaic to sort of show exactly how the parcel was prior to 27 coming in and 70 being put in, because it was a 3-parcel deed, and it doesn't, something's not jiving. So I'm concerned that there might be excess right-of-way that was taken by a state highway. And so anyway, so we're in communications with them. They're still moving forward from what I understand, trying to figure out if they're going to be, it's a mistake or a change in the community.
See if they're going to be a mistake.
So, so we're still waiting to hear from back on them.
Okay.
So nothing else like Green Tree or
Once again, what?
what's going on with Green Tree?
That's kind of still sort of working its way through too. So the big concern is there's questions about open space, and we're in a deficit currently, and that's really hindering a lot of some of the development right now, especially in the downtown zone and out there. So next month, we'll be actually discussing the Prospect Place. They're slated to be on next month's agenda. They're still.
Wait, they're not here for future.
I know, didn't get on
Well-
there, no.
I'm glad I asked.
But I was about to mention it as well, so, but no,
I
but
didn't
so,
ask about Green Tree.
it's the same staff report that was sent out previously, and it's okay. There's still, it's not a favorable recommendation from me because it doesn't meet the open space requirements, so.
For Prospect?
For Prospect, yeah. So currently, the question is,
And is that the requirement for open space, is that simply because there's a residential contingent to that?
correct.
Okay. so
That's a portion
when
of it.
If it's just commercial, there's no open
There's
space?
still don't meet the open space requirements for that site. If it was, the first floor was stayed commercial, I don't think they would still meet the current code for open space.
That's-
Persons, if you have commercial, it doesn't apply.
Right, if it was all commercial, yes, but if
Okay,
it
so
had any
commercial
residential,
doesn't- Open space doesn't apply, but
To
when you have
just
a
commercial.
residential contingent,
okay,
then you're. open
correct,
space
correct. I thought you were
requirement.
talking about just the
That's- I'm just trying to
the
get
text
that.
amendment they
Right.
went for, and
But they were the ones that said they can't have any commercial. Like, I don't know.
that is what they said,
That's what they said, even though they're
Right.
supposed to be mixed use.
and hence the text amendment.
It's changed.
Yes,
Yeah.
it has.
But we've also, were in discussions with open space when we were talking about mixed use, but we hadn't gotten,
So I think that's one
Oh,
of
I
the,
don't mean like they were, I mean, they're downtown zone. So
Right.
I don't mean they were going to be mixed use zone, but they're downtown zone, so it was supposed to have
Right.
mixed use. is
Exactly.
what I mean. Yeah.
all right, anything else that anyone has, and ask any questions about? Or we're,
One thing I'd like to put in the minutes that I voted at every opportunity tonight, just like I did the last meeting.
okay, all right. The one thing that I want to mention to those that are listening that are not here, if you are planning, if you have something that needs to come to the Planning Commission, on our website, on the Mount Airy website, is the schedule of when you're supposed to submit something to the staff and for what particular meeting. This is a hard and fast rule, and we're gonna continue to be fairly inflexible with that. So if you have any questions, please look on the website to see when those deadlines are. It's very important that we have those because the staff has to get together reports for the planning staff and for the planning commission, and we'd like to have them at least 2 weeks ahead of time so we can read them and become familiar with them. So if you're delinquent in getting your things to the planning staff, your request might be delayed by next month. Anything else? Everyone knows we have a new code enforcement person. Yes,
Member of the police force.
it's a member of the police force now. Just wanted to mention that.
So if somebody needs to contact code enforcement, they call the police.
You can actually put a request online. on
It's,
the town
yeah, there's
website.
an
They have
online request.
A report online.
John, are there any other announcements or things that you want to share with folks tonight?
Not today.
Okay, I think.
Seeing none, do I hear a?
Move to adjourn.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. We adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Meeting adjourned. Motion passes.